Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today we're going to discuss the rework of the Spriggan Form, and a lot has changed for it, so let's go ahead and dive into it. And again, we're right in the middle of Druid Week. Tomorrow we get the new teaser for the new form, and then I think they'll do a full blog on it and discuss, I'm assuming, all of the transformations all in one post after that. So the next couple of days will be really interesting to finally know what that third transformation will be. But today we're going to focus on the Spriggan Form, and it's getting some sweet new reworked skills, so let's go ahead and dive into it in this post, which is linked below in the description. If you would like to follow along or read it for yourself, you can do that there. We hope you enjoyed our new Entangling Roots design in the Entangling Roots blog. We are thrilled to have you back again for the next reveal, which is going to be the Spriggan Form. The design goal of the new Spriggan Form is to connect our players to the magical spellcaster rooted in nature type of fantasy. This involved committing to a couple of thematic design goals. The Spriggan would not utilize any movement abilities, and I know the first thing you're thinking, wow, that means it's going to be slow. Now, it hasn't had a movement ability, but I swear it's had increased movement speed, because the Spriggan never actually feels that slow. While it is a little bit slower than classes that have a movement ability, it hasn't been too slow. However, you will see in a couple of clips, and some people have commented that it looks a little sluggish, so we'll have to see exactly how you can improve that, and perhaps some new passive nodes will allow us to increase the movement speed even more to make up for not having that movement ability, or perhaps a passive of just transforming into the Spriggan itself will give you a boost of movement speed. Being a tree man, he can't move very quickly without breaking the fantasy, and this is true. Trees do not move quick, not even when falling over. All attacks and spells should be deeply rooted in nature magic. The two major themes expressed throughout gameplay should encompass the feeling of controlling the environment and summoning nature's creatures. The new Spriggan visual. So here again, you can see the concept art. They came up with 6 different concepts, and then they voted on it, I'm assuming, internally. And I believe it's number 3 is the winner, especially, I'm almost positive it's number 3. Could be number 1. For me, it's not even a question. I mean, it was either going to be number 1 or number 3, and I think they made the right pick going with number 3, a little bit bigger, a lot more rooty and vineier. And then you can see they filled it in a little bit more here with more concept, and you can see he got a lot buffier. He definitely has some forcefulness, it looks like, behind him. Once we decided upon the concept art and the details within, we set forth to create a new epic model for the Druid Spriggan Form, complete with hardened bark, a variety of natural growth, and an ancient glowing power within. Our new Spriggan Form stands ready to take on any threat. And here you can see the new updated model for it, which is awesome. I really like it. I think it's so much more visually pleasing than it was before. I can't wait to play around with them. I couldn't think of any way to make it better. I mean, it takes in the complete theme and it turns it into a really good visual representation, so I really like it. The new transformation. We've given our new Spriggan Form an exciting new transformation animation and integrated the casting of the new ability while transforming Thorn Shield. Casting Thorn Shield while transforming into Spriggan strongly communicates the fantasy of becoming a tree. It feels great in dangerous situations and connects the player with the soul of the Spriggan fantasy, and it's making me think back to the werebear form that we just went over, and I don't think that you cast anything when transforming into the werebear. I think that transforming into werebear, if you were to use Warcry at the same moment, that would be an awesome statement for the werebear. So if that's not in there already, I hope they add that. I think it kind of looks like the Diablo 4 werebear if you do it. I've seen the transformations when you use it, and he kind of goes into that form and knocks back all the enemies, so it'd feel kind of like that, but I definitely could make that a very impactful when going into werebear, so I'd like to see that as well. But if we look at this animation, you can see when you're in human and you transform, it's very smooth, and then you have that thorn shield around you, and then it goes off after a few seconds. So it's definitely going to feel more impactful. It's a lot more impactful than what we currently have, and you can see it's a much smoother transformation. It seems to be very quick, but until we play with it, we don't know how smooth it actually will be. Spriggan skills. This patch will have updates to all of the abilities, which include replacing Veil Blast with Spirit Thorns and replacing Root Wall with Thorn Shield. Let's dive into each of these decisions a bit more below. And I'll tell you what, Spirit Thorns, I've already seen the clip for this. It looks amazing. I think it's going to feel really, really good using it as the main ability. So Veil Blast, while decent at single target damage, felt rather lackluster and its theming did not fit well. Generic green laser blast of sorts doesn't really scream nature magic. Also, we're removing Ice Thorns from the Primals this patch, so we would be lacking in any spell cast where you are creating thorns, which is appropriate for a natural caster. Yes, Ice Thorns is getting removed. So that led us to building Spirit Thorns. This is a single target or multi-target skill that feels much more satisfying to use than Ice Thorns are available as currently does, and really hits on that Spriggan nature theme. And here you can see in the clip, you basically fire off what looks to be at least one multiple projectiles. I assume in the skill tree you'll be able to get more projectiles, maybe make them do a bigger AoE or something. But they also home in, and they're very quick. I really like that about them. That, and they hit more than one target, so they can, it looks like they can all hit the same target, or if the first target dies, they can all move on to the next target. So that's going to make it feel very, very satisfying, if that is indeed how it works. It looks like that's how it works here, and if that is how it works, it's going to be awesome. And adding Pierce to that could make it even better. Thorn Shield. While we loved the theme of Root Wall, we've ultimately decided it wasn't effective or impactful enough, so it was time for it to retire. Its replacement, Thorn Shield, is a rather different skill compared to Root Wall. It forms a protective barrier of thorns around you that grants you armor and reflects a flat amount of damage to attackers. Now, most flat damage, or almost all flat damage you can currently get in-game, doesn't scale with anything. You can get flat damage return to the attacker from several different passives. You can get it as a fixes on gear, but it doesn't scale with anything, making it almost utterly useless, especially once you get to the end game, and then it's not even heard of in empowered content or high corruption. So I really hope that this sort of Thorn Shield that we have here, this sort of flat reflective damage, scales with something so that we can get decent damage out of it, even in the higher corruption, so it feels impactful. I really hope it scales. When Shield expires, a burst of thorns shoots out and damages all nearby enemies. For Thorn Shield, we wanted to double down on the Thorn theme, so also fully empower and support a Thorns style of gameplay, where things just die from touching you. So that makes it sound like it can be and should be scaling, or at least have some way to really up the base damage of it to make it hit really, really hard. I really hope it's not something that just feels good during the campaign and then falls off later in the game, making it an utterly useless endgame skills. But most new skills they've introduced to the game don't feel like that, so I have some hope. Being able to cast it to your companions also enables a fun playstyle where you stand back and send your Thorny Bear into battle for you. Or you can even sprout some thorns on your friends as they charge into the fray. Now I really like this. You in Diablo 3 could be like the Thorn Crusader, where you literally just ran as fast as you could on your horse, used bombardment, used your skills in a rotation, and everything died from basically reflect damage. Now what I really like here is the fact that you can put this on your other friends if you're playing in multiplayer. This was not something you could do in Diablo 3, so I really look forward to seeing how effective it would be to be casting this on, say, your tank or somebody who has taunt and is taking all of the enemies for you, and you have maybe multiple, say, druids that are being able to summon multiple stacks of Thorn Shield on a single target that's running forward and grabbing all the aggro. I could see that being really good, but we'll have to wait and see. I also think that multiplayer will have an unlimited amount of options for us because everything's going to synergize really, really well. And then as we move down, you can see what this looks like. And it looks like it actually has an AoE at the end of its duration where it actually shoots out and can hit things in a target. So not only is it going to be, I assume, reflecting damage when things attack you, but it does an attack of its own at the end of its duration. Then we have the Summon Healing Totem and Summon Vines. Healing Totem and Summon Vines are both keeping their current base functionality, but gain visual updates and several new options in the overhauled skill tree. The reworked Spriggan Form minions often feel like new skills when using them in battle. And here we have a couple of visual here's. This is the new Healing Totem visual, which looks pretty good. And down below we have a group of vines, which I really like the way the new vines look. They look exactly like flowery vines, which is pretty cool. They don't look super threatening, but they do look pretty good, especially compared to what we have now. Now it looks like you can still summon multiple vines at a time. We don't know if those are going to have a cap limit yet, but it looks like you can have at least 5 or 6 here, it looks like they have. And for healing totems, looks like you can still have at least 2. Whether that's going to be capped, whether they still interact with thorn totems, it's yet to know. We'll have to wait till we see the skill trees and exactly how they work. Might kill off a couple of builds that are in the game right now. I do expect a lot of new builds to pop up though. And the new Spriggan skill tree. So let's go ahead and get into some of these nodes to kind of get an idea of where we're headed with the new Spriggan Form. As we discussed in the Werebear blog, we're moving away from mana-based resource for all druid transforms, and they will use a new resource called Rage. There will be many ways to recover Rage, such as examples below. And here we have 2 examples. We have the Ire of Trees. Healing totems are converted to Fury totems and now restore Rage instead of healing, but can only affect you. And this seems like a really good way. Basically, it's almost as if they took the build we currently have, where you summon a bunch of totems, and while they are healing you, when they disappear, they give you mana, and then that in turn would let you summon even more vines. So now it looks like you're using Fury totems, which will no longer heal you, but give you all the rage that you would ever want in order to summon tons of vines. So it looks like a current build that's currently in the game, that S tier vines build, might have a way of surviving. We'll have to wait and see though. And then Garden of Rage, you regain rage at the end of each second per active vine. I assume that this is going to be an ability that you just kind of use passively. So you summon a bunch of vines, you throw on a Garden of Rage, and then per vine you get rage back. How much rage does vines cost? I don't know. Can you have infinite vines if you cast down a bunch of vines, use this to get your rage back, throw some more vines out? I don't know. Will there be a soft cap on the number of vines you can have, or a hard cap? I don't know. So many unknowns. Really looking forward to it though. I think we're going to have a lot of different ways to play it. Similar to the Werebear, one of our major redesign goals with the Spriggan skill tree is to allow players to bring in the power of other skills while transformed. This will allow players to make more strategic decisions when choosing which other skills they wish to specialize in. And here we have a couple of examples of other skills that you can tie into your Spriggan. One called Veiltide. You can now have additional maximum Veil spirits, and when you directly cast Spirit Thorns, while at maximum Veil spirits, you consume them to cast Entangling Roots at the target area, and you regain rage. That seems like a very powerful synergy right there, but we'll have to wait and see how easy it is to get Veil spirits, if you have to manually summon them, if you get them on kill, what you can do to kind of, proc those up. Then we have one called Nurture and Protect. You can now cast Edora's Blessing on the target when you directly cast Thorn Shield. I'm assuming, and let's just assuming here, that Edora's Blessing is going to have a rework of its skill tree of its own. In this case, if you cast Thorn Shield on yourself manually, you will automatically cast Edora's Blessing on yourself as well, really speeding up the process. And depending on the buffs that Edora's Blessing can give you, this could be really powerful. My mind is instantly going to all those, I think it's capped elemental and physical resist that you can get out of Eternal or Edora's Blessing. So if that part doesn't change, it sounds like you'll be able to get all of your elemental and physical resistance just by casting Thorn Shield and having Edora's Blessing proc. So that would be pretty cool if you're casting it on yourself. We'll have to wait and see some synergies that we have there. I assume it's all going to be different. The entire Spriggan skill tree has been redesigned with the intent to allow our community of travelers to create many new builds and explore new ways to play. Here are some of our favorite new nodes. Here we got 3 of them. Number 1, Great Vine. You can now only summon up to 1 vine at a time, up to a maximum, but they have significantly more health, size, and their melee attacks deal significantly more damage in a larger area, which is multiplicative. This effect only works with direct cast. And so this is pretty much the Great Vine that we had before. I assume that this really isn't too much different than what we had. You'll be summoning 1 at a time, and it doesn't look like there's a hard cap. It looks like you just summon 1 at a time and you can still have more than 1 total. Hunter's Bane, your vines now cast thorns from range instead of using a melee attack. This is affected by nodes on this tree that affect Spirit Thorns, but they only fire 1 projectile, and Grapevine fires 3 projectiles. So what this node is telling me that is inside of the Spriggan Form skill tree are nodes that affect Spirit Thorns, and Spirit Thorns, I assume they have their own skill tree, they're their own specialization, but somehow they get affected inside of Spriggan Form as well. I don't know if it's the Spirit Thorns specialization tree themselves, but it seems like the vines casting those Spirit Thorns, it is affected by that skill tree, or it's affected by any nodes that affect Spirit Thorns inside of Spriggan Form tree. It's a little confusing, a little back and forth there, but it sounds like there will be ways to scale the thorn damage on your vines other than just increasing minion damage. It looks like you'll be able to build into it inside of the skill trees themselves a little, so I really like that. And then we have Barbed Thicket. You now have a chance to also cast Thorn Shield on the nearest vine when you cast Thorn Shield. Other allies with Thorn Shield deal global increased physical damage and have a chance to cause enemies to bleed. So that's pretty cool. It looks like we'll be able to build into some bleed and pure physical builds. As we scroll down, you can see him firing off some big vines, and I think it looks like using Spirit Thorns, but it looks like he's using Spirit Thorns there with a large vine, and it's doing some WAP. It looks like its WAP still hits in a nice AoE. It's doing multiple hits. It's not a single target hitter, so it looks like big vines should still be relatively very viable. It doesn't look like in this example that it's firing off thorns of its own, though. It's definitely still doing the melee attack. I would have loved to see what those thorns look like coming from the vines. Thank you again for joining us for the reveal of the changes coming to the Druid Spriggan Form in patch 8.4. We hope you love the new direction for the Druid, and as always, we love to hear your feedback in the comments. We hope to see you again tomorrow for a sneak peek at our Druid's new and final transformation. I hope it doesn't mean final like for all of time. I assume that just means final transformation that we're talking about for this upcoming patch. I definitely hope there's more than 3 transformations down the road, even if it's after 1.0. But again, yes, tomorrow we will be doing a video on the new form teaser. All of you have still been guessing. We've been discussing it in Discord, trying to guess what it is. Feel free to leave your last guesses in the comments below, because come tomorrow, we're going to finally know what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you're excited for the new Spriggan Form. Go ahead and let me know which skill you think you're going to like the most come patch 8.4. As always, stay safe and have a good day.